This is Abnormal Entertainment.
Welcome, everybody, to the Cinema Head Cheese Podshort. This is Kevin Moyers, and this week I am going to talk about one of my favorite things, which is the biopic. This one is a couple years old now, but recently popped up on Netflix, and I decided to give it a shot. It didn't get a lot of attention when it was first out, or first done. I think it was finally released in theaters late last year. I can always check on that. I know it popped up internationally in different places, but it was later last year that I saw a little bit of a story about it with, and maybe when it was released to DVD, but with Jack Black on CBS Sunday Morning talking about the character of Bernie. Basically, it's the true story of a mortician who moves to a very small Texas town, and he's very nice. He's a gay man, but kind of closeted, fairly effeminate, but also just kind of like very friendly Southern. So he rides that border like Stephen Tobolowsky is a guy that kind of rides that fence. He's a straight guy, but he's got that sort of affable Southern gentleman thing. Like if you thought, and even I think Tobolowsky's brought it up on his podcast. Like if you thought he was gay, you go, oh, all right, I get it, But that's kind of how Bernie is. And basically, he gets a job as a mortician, and everybody loves him. He goes and he visits the old widows afterward, brings them cookies, stuff like that. And during the course of his work there's this one old lady, Marjorie, who is just a total bitch. Nobody in town likes her. She's a widow of a successful banker. She now runs the bank, turns everybody down for loans, so on and so forth. She's just not nice. And Bernie, for whatever reason, is able to befriend her. And she's very wealthy, so she ends up kind of keeping him around as a companion. And it becomes this sort of full-time friendship, I guess. Definitely not a relationship, though. There are people that wonder about that, and they're obviously wrong because he's gay. He wouldn't be into that anyway. But it's kind of interesting. She takes him on vacations and things like that, and buys him things and gets him a car. And all he wants to do is nice things for people. And she's not always the nicest person. And so, questions start forming and things like that. And eventually, Bernie shoots and kills Marjorie in her garage and starts to go on this cover-up of it. Like saying, oh, she's in the hospital, she had a stroke, so on and so forth. And he's spending her money. Now, not on himself. He keeps his own home, very modest. His own car, nothing too special about it. It's nice, but everything is very modest in his own life. But he does all this philanthropic stuff with her money, giving it to charities and different charitable contributions are made with this money through Bernie. He's basically almost Robin Hood in a way. Take from the rich, give to the poor, that whole thing. Meanwhile, there's this sheriff, Danny Buck, who's played by Matthew McConaughey, who is not buying it. He's trying to find Marjorie, who Marjorie, by the way, is Shirley MacLaine, and Bernie's played by Jack Black. And you do get an opportunity to see the real Bernie, and Jack Black's not too far off. If Alex Karras was younger, he would look enough like Bernie to get the look down perfectly. And if you don't know who Alex Karras is, get some culture, goddammit. But it's an interesting story. It's not a great movie, but the way it's done, it's shot almost like it's a documentary at times, where you're interviewing different townspeople and things like that, including the sheriff. So you do get these southern sort of characters, and eventually, I mean, as if you know the real life news story, Bernie is taken to justice, so to speak. But the whole process of that as well is so interesting in the way the town deals with him, and considering they didn't like Marjorie and stuff like that. It's an interesting story, and I knew the whole story going into it because I'd seen the news story about it. So it's not really spoiling it for you to know all this stuff, because you can read about it, and there are plenty of news stories that have gone on. But it's such an interesting little take on this character who is a bad guy but isn't in the same way. And I don't know, it's almost like everybody, if you were to think every single person had one terrible act in them, would this be his? It's such an odd thing for this person, and to watch him go from who he is to commit this murder, and someone that was very close to him too. It's just interesting. It's not the best movie you'll ever see. It's definitely not the worst. It is one of those, and I always say, like Sunday afternoon folding laundry, it's one of those kinds of movies. It's a little better than one of those kinds of movies, but you can sit and watch it and listen to it if you're a little distracted by other things. You're cleaning up your living room. It's a good one to flip on, and it's one of the great things again about Netflix, that you find these little gems that, yeah, maybe they're good, maybe they're okay, but you don't feel like you were put out by watching them, if you didn't love it. So I would say watch Bernie. Just if you're into biopics like I am, and documentaries and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's obviously not a documentary, but those are kind of my two favorite things to just sit and study. I like documentaries a lot, but the biopic is, to get that portrayal of what must have happened at that time. And even documentaries do that within the movie. They do the portrayals. But it's interesting, and I think it's worth checking out. So there it is, Bernie, starring Jack Black, Shirley MacLaine, Matthew McConaughey. Give it a look. It's not bad at all. I do want to thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry we haven't been every week. We've had some stuff going on. Life's been busy. So I'm thankful that the folks from Masterpiece Theater were able to join us for the last one for Guardians of the Galaxy. That was so much fun. It's always fun with them. And in fact, Masterpiece Theater is making some changes. They're doing a new thing called Podcomics, which 4 of the guys are sitting down, and they're going start to finish. They're going to create, and I mean from scratch, create a comic book and put it together, start to finish. And I'm curious to see their path and their saga, considering I have done this before. And it is not easy. So the first episode went up last Friday. It's under Masterpiece Theater, Act 69, I believe. And it's called Podcomics. And you need to check that out. It's a new segment of Masterpiece. So I don't know how often they're going to do that one specifically. I don't know if it's going to be weekly or monthly or what, but or as needed, considering the project. So that's a possibility too. That might fit the project a little better. But yeah, check that out. I think you'll find it to be interesting. Also, don't forget to head over to cinemaheadsheets.com. Check out all of the new articles and things there. Greg and John and Jeff have been putting up a bunch of stuff, which is great. We have a lot of new release information and press releases up there for stuff that you guys would be interested in. And, of course, don't forget all of the shows over at abnormalentertainment.com. Like I said, the folks from last week, Masterpiece Theater is where you can hear the Mass Blogster, Alvin, and also known as Selfie Santana, and Mandy. You can hear them all on Masterpiece, and of course Sampo you can hear on Your Canadian Girlfriend. So check all of those shows out over there, and I thank them for participating in this little show. Again, that was so much fun, so exciting. So, but other than that, I thank you guys for tuning in. If there's a movie you'd like to hear reviewed on this show, or you'd like us to talk about, maybe I can get somebody to jump on with me. It's usually not that big of a problem, but give me a buzz. cinemaheadcheese@yahoo.com is our email. Find us on Facebook and at CINHeadcheese on Twitter. I am the only one that checks the Twitter. Jeff checks the email, so you can also tweet me at Kevin Moyers or find me on Facebook and so on. So do that. Again, I appreciate it. I hope we'll see you again next week. I'm going to get on getting a lot more of these done so we can schedule them out throughout the weeks and make sure you guys have a show every Tuesday. That's the goal. That's, it's playing catch up right now. So that's all. Well, we're always doing that, I suppose. But anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Subscribe and download back episodes of Cinema Head Cheese the podcast, and read all of our movie reviews and news at cinemaheadcheese.com. Email us at cinemaheadcheese@yahoo.com. Search Cinema Head Cheese on Facebook and tweet us at CINHeadcheese. And for more podcasts, books, comics, blogs, and videos, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.